911, what is your emergency?
Every day, emergency services call handlers expertly deal with those in desperate situations.
When we pick up 911, you never know what type of call you'll answer.
Taking calls from terrified victims.
It is not a joke. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna bleed to death, I'm afraid.
No, you're not, sir.
To listening to cold-blooded killers.
My friend and I got into an altercation. I am the only one who came out alive.
Are you telling me you killed somebody?
These are the stories behind the emergency call.
I can honestly say I could never have been trained enough for that call doctor.
With never-before-seen footage, we explore the real story behind the most shocking emergency calls.
My son fell in with a gorilla. He's dragging my son. I can't watch this.
.911 recorded line. Which
hello, how is it, sir?
Your emergency?
Hello, sir. Please help me.
Hello, sir.
Please help me. Please help me.
Sir.
Someone took my car. Please help me, please. They have guns.
All right, just take a deep breath. Okay.
Okay.
Tell me what happened. Somebody took your car?
Yeah.
And what happened when they took their car?
They say that they are they did the explosion.
They what?
They are the suspect of the marathon explosion.
And I had somebody that I've worked with for several years. He had actually come down with a form of cancer, a form of leukemia. And I remember being on a couch, literally with a bag of chips, talking to my friend about how stressed I am about work. And this is my friend that is dealing with cancer. And he's pretty much said, why don't you go for a run? And so I did. Put the chips down. I took my dog, and we went for a run. And after about a mile, my dog laid down, and he'd had enough, and so had I. And we made our way back. But we kept going, and that turned into a 5K, then a 10K, and I called my friend, and I said, I'm gonna do this crazy running stuff. Let me try to help raise some funds or do whatever. And all he heard me really say was Boston and running. And the next thing I know, I was signed up to do the Boston Marathon in 2013. And it really was a phenomenal, amazing event right up till when I was about to cross the finish line.
What the hell was that? Oh my God, something blew up. Something blew up. Oh my God, something happened.
The Boston Marathon falls on Patriots' Day. It's a local holiday. It's a great family-friendly event. The beginning of school vacation week. Red Sox play an early game, and tons of people flock to the city. Personally, I have a connection to the event. My great-great-grandfather, Larry Brignolia, won the 1899 Boston Marathon, and coincidentally, he was also the heaviest and slowest runner ever to win the Boston Marathon.
Where are they?
They're in the Shell gas station, Memorial Drive.
They're in front of the gas station?
Yeah, I just go to run.
What, are they there now?
Yeah, please come.
I've been a news photographer for 35 years. I've been at the Globe for a long time, but it just seems like I just started. Pretty much my dream job. I've covered the marathon from various locations along the route, and 2013 I was assigned to be at the finish line. You got to get there real early, 3 hours before the actual start of the race in Hopkinton. It's also nerve-wracking because you don't want to miss the winner breaking the tape crossing the finish line. So I don't sleep the night before. I'm nervous, and I guess it's a good thing that I'm nervous.
I remember being on the bus that morning. You take the buses from here in Boston and you go out about 26.2 miles. And just realizing how far the bus was driving west, I started to get a little bit nervous about how the day was going to go.
By 11 a.m., 27,000 marathon runners were on the course, making the 26.2-mile journey to the finish line.
The whole length of Boylston Street starts to fill up probably at 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's a prime position. If you have a loved one running in the Boston Marathon, the ideal spot is to be at the finish line to see them finish, to cheer them on.
Multiple people down here, okay? I don't know what the cause is. Stand by.
I'm nobody who's going to win a marathon. I was there to have fun, and I'm running for a friend. Everybody was just out having fun, and just that energy just propels you. One of the things that I had learned, just focus on points. You know you can do 5 miles, you know you can do 10 miles. When you get tired, you know you can make it to the next mile marker. But by the time I got to Boylston Street, I was just trying to get lamppost to lamppost. And I had promised myself, my kids were on the street, and I remember seeing them. We waved, and the plan was I was going to stop and say hi, but I was afraid if I stopped, my legs wouldn't want to keep moving, so I kept going. You know, it became kind of a mental game to finish it up at that point. But I remember coming down Boylston Street, just saying I would never do another marathon ever again. I was thrilled that this run was going to be done. I'd had enough. You know, after a certain amount of miles, for me, it's not so much physical anymore, it's more mental, that you just want to finish. But I was happy, I was smiling, I was high-fiving people coming down the side. And I remember as I was just about to finish, I saw this older gentleman in front of me. And so I remember looking at him, and I had looked over at the crowd, and everybody's cheering and yelling and having a great time. And I looked at him again. And just as I looked at him, that's when everything happened. It was just this flash. You could feel the heat and the shock wave. The gentleman in front of me had fallen. I remember me being pushed sideways. I felt like I had been just hit with a brick. I couldn't hear anything. It was just this ringing noise. But you could see the smoke. You could see people running.
I was still standing right on the finish line, and it was shocking. It was just so loud. I had my camera to my face, and I could feel the force of the explosion kind of blow me back on my camera, and I'm like trying to comprehend what just happened. There was a runner who fell in front of me, and instinctively, I just ran towards that runner. And as I was running towards that runner on the ground, another explosion happened. I started thinking, was that a bomb that exploded?
And I could see the damage that the bomb had done to people.
Yes, sir, there's 4 ambulances down to this location, okay?
Yes, sir. They've been notified. They're on the way. We got every unit on possible going, sir. Just hang on.
Tango Echo 2. Another ambulance, 755
They're on the way, sir. They're on the way.
Race workers and medical personnel on hand as usual for the marathon instantly gave aid as additional police, fire and medical units were dispatched to the finish line.
I was 4 miles from the finish line out of Cleveland Circle, and I hear a radio call that there's been bombings. I wanted to be down there. I wanted to help out. It was hard to get in touch with folks and find out if they're safe. And little did I know that officers from the Transit Police Department and Boston Police Department were responding to save victims' lives at the finish line. And just a couple days later, they'd be saving my life.
We're going to get the victims out. We're then going to conduct a sweep with EOD assets to make sure there are no other devices on the street. We will then get people out of the restaurants and bars.
Once again, all units be advised, the marathon is done. It is over. Anybody participating in the marathon to be redirected to the Boston Common. Stay off going forward. Units that are still on Boston Street, make your way out to the side streets. Once again, stay off Boylston until the EOD team have swept it.
Less than 1 hour after the first bomb had detonated, the last critical patient was transported from the scene. 264 runners and spectators were injured, and 3 people had lost their lives. 29-year-old Crystal Campbell, 23-year-old Lindsay Liu, and 8-year-old Martin Richard. The 117th marathon ended in tragedy. As the investigation to find who was responsible began, the city looked to slowly recover from the day's events. One man took to social media to express his heartfelt feelings. But little did his Twitter followers know that he was one of the Boston Marathon bombers, and his trail of death and destruction was far from over. With no one claiming responsibility for the terrorist attack, the FBI and the Boston police were faced with a 15-block crime scene. They began analyzing hours of CCTV, mobile phone footage, and photos searching for suspects. Piecing together evidence found at the crime scene, investigators quickly established the 2 homemade pressure cooker bombs concealed in backpacks had been detonated. But officials were unaware that 2 months earlier, one man had purchased 5 identical pressure cookers.
So, now, do you remember what these guys look like?
They're come from Arabia.
All right, well...
Yeah, mostly, they look like from Iran or Iraq, somewhere.
24 hours after the explosions, the FBI had their first breakthrough in the case. They identified a man in a white cap, placing a backpack down, moments before the first bomb detonated. He's seen calmly leaving the scene before the second explosion, 12 seconds later. Tracking his earlier movements, the FBI were able to get a clear picture of him. And a second man wearing a black cap, also carrying a backpack. The FBI were now on the hunt for 2 suspects. And it would be several days before the authorities knew the bombers' identities. As the FBI tried to identify the 2 suspects, known only as White Cap and Black Cap, the Boston bombers were hiding in plain sight, carrying out their activities as normal. Unbeknown to law and enforcement, the bombers were 26-year-old Tamerlan Tsarnaev and his 19-year-old brother, Dzhokhar. Born in Kyrgyzstan, the brothers moved to America when Dzhokhar was just 8 years old. Described as being a nice guy, Dzhokhar was a talented wrestler who had won a scholarship and was studying at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. The life of his older brother in America wasn't quite so easy. Tamerlan was a talented boxer who had set his sights on Olympic victory. But after becoming the New England Golden Gloves heavyweight champion for a second time running, a rule change disqualified all non-US citizens from competing, ending Tamerlan's boxing career and Olympic hopes. Dropping out of college, he became more interested in his Islamic religion.
A Muslim believes that your life is already destined. You're not fighting with nature.
And in 2012, he traveled to Dagestan for 6 months, spending time with the Union of the Just, an Islamic group that holds itself out against human rights violations of Muslims.
The way you should see it as a Muslim, you should see it that I'm 1 year closer to my death. I'm getting closer to my grave.
On the 4th day of the investigation, the FBI released photos of the suspects, urging the public to help identify them. With their faces in the public eye, the brothers loaded up their car with pressure cooker bombs, identical to those used in the marathon, a machete and a gun, and drove to Boston. At 10:15 p.m., police officer Sean Collier was conducting his routine rounds at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Sean Collier was an MIT police officer. He was a good friend of mine. We became friends at the police academy in 2010. He came to my wedding, so he knew my wife, he knew my family and friends. I would consider him a great friend and a great cop. And he was about to become a Somerville police officer.
2 suspects approached him and tried to steal his gun. As he reached for his weapon, they opened fire on him without warning. He was shot 5 times at close range.
We are receiving calls for shots fired at 32 Vassar Street. Shots fired at 32 Vassar. Control to car 2, car 1. Car 2, car 1, if you can respond to 32 Vassar Street, we receive reports of an MIT officer down at that location. Nothing further. Step up, pro officer down.
All right, for the companies responded, Vassar Street, CPR is in progress. The CPR in progress on the officer.
When I heard the news that there was an officer down, I responded over to the scene. I found out not so long afterwards that it was Sean, that Sean Collier had been murdered. When a police officer is killed in the line of duty, it's personal. It's a personal attack. It's one of our brothers. Not knowing who did it, just knowing that a friend of mine had been killed. I linked up with a fellow transit police officer, and to be honest, we were on the manhunt, looking for whoever shot and killed my friend, whoever shot and killed one of our brothers in blue.
Having shot and killed a police officer, the Tsarnaev brothers were now on the run.
Danny Meng was pulled over to the side of the road. He was sitting there texting on his phone. And they went up, put the gun in his face, and commandeered his vehicle. They had told Danny Meng that they were going to go to New York and that they were the Boston Marathon bombers and they were going to set off some more bombs in Times Square. They drove around for a while, made him go to an ATM and withdraw money from his bank account. And then they went to get gas.
Having been held hostage by the brothers for over an hour, Danny Meng saw his opportunity to escape the vehicle when Zokar went inside the petrol station.
He saw his opportunity and he fled from the vehicle and ran across the street to another gas station and asked them to call the police.
Realizing their hostage had fled the car, Tamerlan rushed into the shop to get his brother. Across the road, whilst the attendant called 911, the Tsarnaev brothers' hostage stood in fear of his life.
911 recorded line. Which
Hello, how are you, sir?
Your emergency?
Yeah, I am in mobile gas station. I have one came inside now, and he told me one want to shoot him, and he stay inside and he want to leave.
Is the gentleman there?
Yeah, he's inside. He don't want to leave the gas station.
I know. Can I speak with him?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Hello, sir. Please help me.
Hello, sir.
Please help me. Please help me.
Sir.
Someone took to my car.
Tell me what happened. Somebody took your car?
Yes.
And what happened when they took their car?
They say that they are they did the explosion, marathon explosion.
They what?
They are the suspect of the marathon explosion.
Where are they?
They are in the Shell gas station Memorial Drive.
They were in front of the gas station?
Yeah, I just go to wrong.
What, are they there now?
Yeah, please come.
Police were instantly dispatched to the petrol station, but the suspects had already fled the scene. But the brothers were unaware that their hostage's high-spec Mercedes SUV had an onboard GPS tracking system installed.
I was a little late leaving work, and I was out in my car listening to the radio.
To the units of Mercedes tracking showing that car in Watertown, burn 81 Dexter Ave, Watertown.
Dispatch center sent a couple of cars to the area of Dexter Avenue, and so I decided to start driving in that direction.
19 to control. Yes, I'm heading out to Watertown. Told any other Cambridge unit responding to Watertown, you let us know.
There was a call for officers needing assistance in Watertown. Given that it was an intense week, frustrating week, and a cop was just killed, my partner and I sped right to the scene. We didn't want any other cops to die that night, and we had to do our duty the best we could.
Clear the air, 19. Make sure you tell Watertown that they have guns, all right? They're gonna wear shots fired in Watertown.
When I arrived at the scene, it was pretty much chaos. The officers that were on scene were taking gunfire from the two brothers.
Firefighter 9 control, get the firearms down here. Shots fired in Watertown.
First, shots fired, firearms needed in Watertown.
Bombs had been thrown at the officers.
Being told explosions are being thrown in Watertown. There's throwing explosions of some sort.
It was pretty hectic, a live firefight between police officers and a couple of suspects.
Be advised, we have multiple shots fired.
The Watertown Police Department, they had tried to stop the Tsarnaev brothers, and immediately we were fired upon. From there, all hell breaks loose for about 10 minutes.
We've got explosives being detonated.
An explosion goes off not too far from where my partner and I were. There's this huge gun battle, like over 200 shots fired between the officers. I briefly remember that half second in time or less, where I was shot and a bullet basically entered my body, and that was it. I was down. It immediately went south from there. They started CPR on me almost right away. I wasn't conscious. I was shot in the femoral artery, very high up in the leg. And officers are doing CPR and trying to stop the bleeding, and they couldn't stop the bleeding.
I assessed the situation. Nobody was advancing, nobody was retreating, and it was an ongoing gun battle, a standoff. So I decided to cut through some backyards and flank the suspects. Two brothers were about 20 yards in front of me. They didn't know I was there, and they were focused on the other officers that were already on scene. I drew my pistol, took 4 or 5 shots at the one suspect I could see. And that's when the older brother, Tamerlan, realized where I was. He left his position of cover. He ran up a driveway, and he was on the other side of a chain-link fence. And we were about 6 feet apart, engaging in a one-on-one gun battle. While we were exchanging gunfire, I ran out of bullets. I had to reload. And then his pistol ran out of ammunition. He looked down at his gun, looked at me, looked down at his gun again, and then threw the pistol at me, hit me in the left bicep. The pistol fell to the ground. I chased after him and tackled him.
We have one pinned down behind the SUV. We have one pinned down, throwing out.
We're trying to handcuff him, and he's still actively resisting. At about that time, the younger brother, Zokar, had gotten in the vehicle and was turning the vehicle around, and he was now racing towards us, directly at the 3 of us that were trying to handcuff his brother. I reached down and I grabbed Tamerlan by the back of the belt. I could hear the engine racing on the stolen SUV coming at me. I looked to my right. The headlights were right in my face. I literally felt the air of the breeze of that vehicle go by my face. It missed me by probably an inch.
Aiming for the police officers, the car missed and accidentally drove over his older brother, Tamerlan.
He bounced up and underneath the undercarriage a couple of times, and then he got hung up in the rear wheels of the vehicle. He got dragged about 25 feet. and then the SUV crashed into one of our parked police cars. And there was a moment of the engine racing, trying to break free of the collision. He finally broke free, and he started driving away, and then I could see the older brother fall free from the rear wheels. The rear wheels went over him, and Dzhokhar fled through an intersection through a barrage of gunfire.
Escaping the gunfire, a severely wounded Dzhokhar abandoned the stolen SUV and disappeared into the night on foot.
Just an update for you and Squad 4. There'll be 2 victims at that location, 1 SP, 1 officer.
Tamerlan had been shot 9 times, run over by his brother. We gave him first aid on scene, and he was transported to a hospital where he was pronounced dead.
With one suspect deceased and the other on the run, Boston PD and federal authorities made the unprecedented decision to enforce a lockdown on the sleepy Boston suburb of Watertown until Dzhokhar could be apprehended.
I had never seen a lockdown in this country. I don't recall a lockdown. There were probably thousands of police officers in Watertown that day, thousands. You know, municipal police, state police, federal police agencies. They went door to door asking permission to enter and search the houses. And people saying, please come in, check. You know, they didn't know if somebody had broken in through a basement window or whatever. They were more than happy to have the police officers check their houses.
15 hours into the lockdown, a concerned Watertown resident called 911.
911, this line is being recorded. What's the address of your emergency?
67 Franklin, Watertown.
Okay, do you need police, fire, or ambulance?
I have a boat in my yard. There's blood all over the inside. There's a person in the boat.
Are you sure?
I just looked in the boat.
Okay. Stay on the phone. Are you in the house? Stay in the house.
No.
Okay.
David Henneberry, God rest his soul, he's one of our Watertown residents, and he decided he was going to go out in his backyard and have a cigarette.
Okay.
I'm looking at the boat. I'm watching the boat.
All right, just stay on the phone. We're going to have you in the stare in a second.
Okay. I don't know if he's getting out the other side, if he even knew I showed up.
And he noticed that his boat, the heat shrink on it, was ripped. So he kind of went out and looked at it and noticed that what appeared to him to be blood, and he got a little stepladder and he looked in and he saw Dzhokhar laying down in it.
Sir, I have a call from 67 Franklin Street, 67 Franklin. There's a boat in the backyard, there's blood all over the culvert, and the RP reports there's a person inside the boat.
He was ordered to step out of the boat. They did give him verbal commands to surrender, and he did not come out of the boat. There were numerous shots fired at the boat. Then Dzhokhar appeared slowly coming out of the boat, and he was taken into custody.
All right, in Watertown, the suspect in custody. Nobody has come in the perimeter. It's still a hot scene. Suspect in custody, but nobody inside the perimeter.
Severely injured, Dzhokhar was placed in custody and taken to hospital. Inside the boat, he had written a message, saying the bombings were in retribution for America's crimes in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. When you attack one Muslim, you attack all Muslims.
Spent the majority of the next 2 years just trying to get better. Received a traumatic brain injury. I've had a lot of memory loss. My legs are full of scar tissue, and I've developed a lot of pain in my left leg, which, funny enough, is my good leg, and it hurts. Some of these injuries, they just never healed, and they may never heal. came to that realization, and I decided to retire and maintain connections with the police to try to still maintain that close connection to a job I loved.
I remember coming down Boylston Street just saying I would never do another marathon ever again, and I've done 13 since. But it's what I saw happen that day. I saw people rushing in. I saw people helping people, and that really left an impact on me. I have since gone on in the last 5.5 years to form a foundation now that works with other folks that have been injured in extremist and terrorist events around the world. Last year, there were over 20,000 people that were killed by terrorist and extremist attacks. Over 20,000 were injured worldwide. Most people don't know those numbers. But if you think about the number of people that impacts, their families, their friends, their coworkers, it impacts a lot of people. The city of Boston did a wonderful service for everybody by letting everybody get to know each other, letting survivors meet first responders. I think that was incredibly important. There's actually been marriages that have come from the Boston Marathon where first responders have married folks that they helped that day. There's many more wonderful stories. You know, there's much more good in the world than evil. We just normally hear about the evil stuff. You don't always get to hear about the good stuff. There's a lot of good here in Boston.
Ambulance service, what's the address of the emergency?
Hi, I'm not sure. I've just met a man who...
What's the address, my love, first, please?
I am on Berkeley Road in Westbury Park.
Berkeley Road in Westbury Park. Okay, and whereabouts on that road are you? Just left side, or...?
The very bottom of the road. Basically, I heard a shouting in my garden. I came out and there's a gentleman shouting for help.
Okay, so he's actually in the road, is he?
Yeah, he is, yeah. Mate, it's okay.
Okay, my love, tell me exactly what's happened.
Excuse me? Hello? What's happened, please?
Somebody threw acid over there.
Someone threw acid over his face.
"29-year-old Mark van Dongen was born and raised in the Netherlands. He moved to the UK to study at Bristol University, and after graduating, he remained in the city.
Mark was said to be a really nice guy, kind of generous chap, very popular at work, who was an engineer and had been involved in major construction projects around the UK and mainly in Bristol.
In 2010, whilst working in Bristol, Mark met 49-year-old Berlina Wallace through an online dating site.
Berlina came from South Africa, and she was a part-time fashion student at the University of the West of England here in Bristol.
Despite their 19-year age gap, the couple's relationship developed quickly, and Mark moved into Berlina's flat and was able to financially support her through her studies.
Somebody threw acid over there.
Someone threw acid over his face, apparently.
Did acid thrown over his face?
Yeah.
Okay, bear me a second. Is the attacker still nearby?
Who did it to you, please? His ex.
They were together for 5 years, but they began to struggle in their relationship in 2015. Their relationship was a volatile one, and Mark had complained to workmates that she'd been abusive to him and sometimes violent. And he'd also attended work bruised and covered in scratches.
It wasn't a happy relationship. It was dominated by violence and coercive control. She was incredibly dominant. She wanted to subjugate him completely. She wanted him to do what she wanted to do when she wanted him to do it. Mark would have had to have been compliant, and she would have trained him throughout that relationship to be compliant, or there would be trouble.
Mark had actually confided to his father, Kees van Dongen, that he was afraid of Berlina.
She's still still there? Has she gone?
Is he or she still here?
I don't know.
You don't know?
That's okay. That's about one of don't worry.
In 2015, Mark had met another woman. And he thought about leaving Berlina. It was very difficult for him because Berlina wouldn't let go. She began to harass him and effectively began to stalk him.
After Berlina violently attacked Mark one night, he ended the relationship and moved in with his new girlfriend.
Berlina simply couldn't let Mark go. And she was also using emotional blackmail to try and keep him. And she was actually calling him and saying that she'd taken drug overdoses, for instance. And it was really playing on his emotional fears to try and retain their relationship. She was very upset with this new lady on the scene, and it led to silent calls from Berlina to the new woman's home. On one night, Mark told police that Berlina had called 14 times, and this led to him actually making a report to police about Berlina's conduct. Mark was really trying to do the right thing by Berlina, and he was aware of how vulnerable that she was. So he was trying to really let her down gently and have an amicable split. More than that, he said he felt he had a duty of care for Berlina. So that's what took him to Berlina's flat in September 2015.
On the 23rd of September 2015, Berlina picked up Mark from his workplace and brought him back to her flat in Bristol.
It was Berlina's hope that she and Mark would stay together.
But as the evening progressed, Berlina's attempt to rekindle their relationship failed, and the couple argued.
She said to Mark, I'm getting out of here, I'm going to a hotel, I'm just getting out, and he was there, left in her flat. So things didn't go as smoothly as I'm sure Mark had hoped they would.
With no means of getting home, Mark decided to sleep in Berlina's flat for the night. But he was unaware that she had not gone to a hotel and had been secretly planning her revenge on Mark. 2 weeks earlier, when Mark reported to police that Berlina had been harassing his new girlfriend with silent calls, Berlina went online and purchased a litre of sulfuric acid from an online retailer.
2 days later, after the acid arrived, Berlina peeled off the label from the bottle, making the bottle look like water. At the same time, Berlina actually deleted all her web browsing history. In the early hours of September 23rd, Mark awoke to a laughing Berlina who said, "If I can't have you, no one else will." And Berlina threw the acid in his face. The acid covered his head and dripped down his torso and limbs, and he was obviously instantly in excruciating pain. Mark ran out of Berlina's flat into Ladysmith Road and just screamed, "Help me, help me, help me."
Is the attacker still nearby?
Is it who did it to you, please? His ex.
All right, my love. Is she still there? Has she gone?
Is he or she still here?
I don't know.
You don't know.
That's okay. That's fine, my love. Don't worry.
Yeah,
okay.
he's on the way.
So you don't have to phone over his face.
And body, yes.
Some 17 minutes after the point of attack, paramedics arrived at the scene, and they rushed him to Southmead Hospital for treatment.
Whilst in the ambulance, Mark was able to tell the paramedics that Berlina had attacked him, and police were instantly dispatched to her flat.
They asked her about acid, and she says that she did have acid, and she'd been using it to distress fabric. They asked her where the acid was, and she took them to the kitchen, where there was a plastic bottle with liquid inside.
Berlina was arrested and taken to a nearby police station for further questioning.
When Mark arrived at the Southmead Hospital decontamination room, staff had never seen that kind of injury before.
The sulfuric acid caused chemical burns to his face, abdomen, chest and thighs.
His eyes were covered in a yellow film, and yet he managed to grab a reflection of himself in that hospital, and he told an emergency doctor, if my face is going to stay like this, kill me now, I don't want to live.
Despite being safe in hospital, Mark's own personal battle was only just beginning.
Mark would have been in excruciating pain with the level of damage and the injuries that he had. Acid burning through skin, through muscle, through tissue, down to bone in some areas. That would have been some of the worst pain you can imagine. Once a burn is a full thickness burn, that tissue is gone. There's nothing else that's going to bring it back.
Mark was in a coma and in intensive care for 4 months. Burns covered 25% of Mark's body. He lost vision in his left eye, much of his right eye, and the acid had dripped down his body and effectively dissolved his lower left limb, which had to be amputated. He was paralysed from the neck down, which means that he really couldn't use his hands even to scratch an itch. For months, this man couldn't speak. He did eventually manage to regain movement in his tongue, and then from there, he regained the ability to speak and was enabled to try and help police with their inquiries from his hospital bed. For an active 29-year-old man who's doing an active job in the construction industry, he looked quite a fit guy, to be reduced to this wretched state of paralysis must have been torture. Berliner had handed him a death sentence.
"14 months after the acid attack and paralysed from the neck down, a private ambulance transported Mark from Bristol to a hospital in Belgium so he could be closer to his family.
He was transferred to the Maria Hospital in Overspelt, Belgium, where his suffering continued. And as euthanasia is legal in Belgium, after medical consultation, it was decided that he was a fit and proper case for euthanasia on the grounds of extreme physical as well as psychological harm. Lena told police that it was actually Mark who had assaulted her. She told them that he put liquid into a glass, which obviously turned out to be acid, and had encouraged her to drink it.
And Mark would have been the only person that could have put the acid in that glass.
Yeah, he did, because he said to me it was water. I've got water for you, like you come and take your medication and go to bed. He wanted me to burn my insides. This man had betrayed me.
She was implying that Mark was actually trying to effectively attack her with the acid rather than the other way around.
Why didn't you call the ambulance?
I was just confused and about loads of things. I was confused.
So what we're left with really is a heinous act, and after a considered court case, really another twist, because a jury cannot decide on whether this amounts to murder or not. So on the one hand, you could argue that Belina Wallace on that night basically sentenced Mark Van Dongen to death, and yet take it to a court of law, give the jury both sides of the story, and it's not cut and dried.